Hello, everyone. You can see the smile on Ethan Page's face. What that smile means, we'll tell you about it coming up. Also, too, the number one contender for the AEW World Title, MJF. MJF trying to make reference that he's a generational talent. He started naming famous wrestling names that are generational talents that define the sport of professional wrestling by winning the world title. We'll talk about that coming up. As well as we know this week was the historic, infamous Montreal Screwjob that caused a ruckus throughout the world of wrestling. Throughout that time, wrestling was never the same after the Screwjob. We'll talk about that. And two, we talk about the elite is coming, but they might be coming sooner than you think. We'll talk about that as well as matches include Daniel Bryan versus Sammy Guevara, 2 out of 3 falls match. What a match that's going to be. We're going to see that. As well as Paige slash Soraya has a message for Dr. Britt Baker. And two, we get to the latest on what's going on. As the Pro Wrestling Show presents the AEW Dynamite Ring Report, and it starts right now. Hello, everyone. This is Kendra Dix here for your Pro Wrestling Show, AEW Dynamite Ring Report here on Connect TV and all our digital media outposts. We thank you all for watching. Platforms, I meant to say. Join in the conversation using the hashtag Pro Wrestling here on Connect TV. And don't forget, here on Connect TV, subscribe. Hit that subscribe button so you won't miss a thing. Just subscribe so you won't miss a thing. As you see multiple faces that you see on the thumbnail when you kind of click on and stuff on what's going on AEW from last night. We were supposed to come on a little bit later last night, but we was dealing with some technical difficulties. As you know, things happen. You know, we're not perfect. We're not going to be strived to be perfect neither. Things happen. Some things can go beyond your circumstances. But we are here, and we thank you all for watching the Pro Wrestling Show here on this Thursday morning. Don't forget tonight, the take also comes on tonight. If you're a fan of pop culture and what's going on in pop culture news, I suggest you want to watch the take later on tonight, streaming. All right, everyone's here for one reason only. They're here with the review, the recaps, the highlights, and what's going on around AEW. Well, we're going to get things started with this. We know that Ethan Page has been a rising star of the factory, of the firm of MJF. He was brought in by MJF. He had a rivalry with Eddie Kingston that date back. I've been following Ethan Page for quite some time. When he was not an Impact, he was just an independent wrestler, and he didn't have a physique that he has now. Ethan Page has grown his character wise. Ethan Page defeated Eddie Kingston um in a match that many people didn't think was gonna go to happen, but he did. So Ethan Page advances into the world title tournament eliminator. Ethan Page setting himself up to build his character. Who knows? Well, he said himself he would want to go against MJF or what's going on with that. But Ethan Page, with that big grin smile on Ethan Page's face, as we all know, we can find that smile right quick. Ethan Page wins his match over Eddie Kingston and advances over in the world title tournament. Also, too, um, another thing. Speaking of MJF, Maxwell Jacob Freeman, the number one contender for the AEW title, hasn't been shown since Ethan and the rest of the former colleagues of MJF had decimated and destroyed MJF to a table. Well, MJF revealed that he's been on a podcast trying to rest up for his world title match. But MJF stated that he is a one generational talent. He's like Steve Austin, Hulk Hogan's, The Rock, John Cena's, those big names who kind of transcended the sport. Well, MJF saying that when he wins world title, he wins his first world title, he wants to be like that. But I'm kind of thinking MJF playing heel, but don't know how to play babyface. So you got to think to myself like he's only a babyface. He's a tweener for right now, but he's gonna turn heel and actually rubbing in. But I'm not buying that MJF is a babyface like a lot of people are. But who knows MJF? But we'll see how they'll be going forward and stuff. So I mean I'm not buying it, but we'll see. But only time will tell on that. But MJF sent a message that he wants to be a generational talent and sending the message loud and clear that he has the fortitude to get the world title. But we'll see. Speaking of the world champion, John Moxley made an appearance. John Moxley talking about MJF and talking about what he used to do with William Regal and stuff, and how that used to placate. I think Regal and Moxley. I can tell John Moxley just look John Moxley like he's tired, but hey, we'll see. Moxley and MJF will meet at Full Gear sometime coming up for the world title, so we'll see on that. Speaking of that, we know the Acclaim teamed up with FTR, and FTR and the Acclaim teamed up against Swerve Our Glory, um, Powerhouse Hobbs, not Powerhouse Hobbs, but Keith Lee. I'm getting them mixed, so sorry about that, Eric. Keith Lee and Swerve and the Gun Boys. Well, this match was good because when you saw it, the big rig was involved and stuff. But there happened. And FTR won. You got to kind of message that FTR wants those tag team titles some way. FTR said we allowed you to become tag team champions because we allowed it. So who knows what FTR is going to do? But only time will tell on FTR and what's going to happen. Also, too, we'll tell you this. An stunning upset. Wardlow tried to come out there to call out Powerhouse Hobbs, and Wardlow made a crucial mistake, saying he'll take all the titles. And I guess Samoa Joe got offended, and Samoa Joe attacked Wardlow from behind with his own belt, leaving him laying the big man out. Wardlow knocked out by Samoa Joe after Wardlow won a piece of Powerhouse Hobbs, wanted to fight him. Powerhouse Hobbs had other things, and then Samoa Joe comes out of nowhere. It made Wardlow look weak. You couldn't see that coming. I didn't know it was tension there. Oh, it was a little tension, but you couldn't tell. But Wardlow getting attacked by Samoa Joe and then laid down like that, motionless like that, it just didn't make no sense to me. Just sorry plain booking. And like AEW kind of losing his luster a little bit. But Wardlow now got two problems under his feet. But only time will tell on that and how Wardlow will react to Samoa Joe turning on him and calling him do what he did right there. You see Samoa Joe using the kung fu clutch. Samoa Joe making enemies and not making too many friends. If they, you know what I mean. Also, too, we had the confrontation between Paige / Saraya and Dr. Britt Baker. Paige and Saraya will meet at Full Gear, and they was talking about this, saying Paige was saying that Britt had got everything handed to her. And I feel like at the same time, Paige had got everything handed to her because when she was in WWE, she, quite frankly, you know, she wrestled, but she didn't wrestle like she wanted to wrestle. I think Vince was trying to help her, not trying to preserve her neck and stuff. Now Saraya saying that she's 100% cleared to wrestle, and Saraya laid out that she will take her down one by one. She's gonna do so at Full Gear. So Paige in ring return. Her AEW debut will happen at um, Full Gear against Dr. Britt Baker. So we'll see that going and stuff. So it was an interesting promo. Both women were trying to put each other down, but not lift each other up. Sometimes you can do that, but sometimes, like look at WWE, sometimes they put each other down, but they try to lift each other up in spirit and stuff. About I might not, I dislike you, but AEW is totally a different animal, a different beast. I'll tell you that. But then we heard that Saraya said the first person she revealed in the call was Sasha Banks by injury. So as we get Sasha Banks and Paige returning back to wrestling sooner than we think, only time will tell. But Dr. Britt Baker got some her hands full with Saraya, and we'll see that match at Full Gear. Also, too, we're hearing that the return of the Young Bucks, the Elite, and Kenny Omega are intimate. We heard they may be coming at Full Gear. So could they be coming at Full Gear to either Full Gear Rising? That's the only time we tell. We saw these vignettes that they could be coming. So I guess they sided with the Bucks, then TM Punk. So how how that be. So however that's gonna be and going, we'll see that match as well. But the Elite may be returning at Full Gear in a big way. So we'll see that match. Speaking of the match, speaking of show ups, this man right here, the last outlaw, or the king of the mountain, or whatever the hell you want to call him, the two-time Hall of Famer Jeff Jarrett made his appearance on AEW TV once again to lay out the gauntlet that he wants Darby Allin and Sting. Jarrett laid out Jay Lethal's accomplishments, saying he was the first person that signed late Jay Lethal. Sanjay made the call. He even take a dig at WWE with Braun Strowman about skinny red pants and skinny jeans and a long clown face banana or something like guess circus with Triple H. I guess Jeff Jarrett has still some axes to grind. Jeff Jarrett now a wrestler in the business. His title is something with the business development, the officer of business development. Jeff Jarrett, known as a proven commodity. I think what Jim Cornette had said, I wouldn't put Jeff Jarrett in no business development. He's good at talent. So Jim Cornette said on his podcast this week, put Jeff Jarrett as the head of talent relations and see how that go. I think Jeff Jarrett probably would have been better as the head of talent relations, to be honest. But it kind of makes sense to me. Jeff Jarrett, the head of talent relations, since he knows talent and he ran to creative. He ain't good at business, but we'll see. But Jarrett, making a claim that he wants Sting and Darby Allin one way or another. We'll see if he get this match the way he wants it to get it. But quite interesting to see that note. So we can tell you right now, this is confirmed. Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal, like they did against at Ric Flair's last match, teamed up, but they lost. They was a losing team. Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal takes on Sting and Darby Allin. We know Sting and Jeff Jarrett has a long history in WCW and Impact Wrestling, and we'll see that rivalry continue on in AEW. So we'll see that match coming full circle. So we'll see that coming up. Jarrett getting the match that he wanted. Jarrett making a somewhat, like he likes to say, a impact. So Jeff Jarrett back in the fray and getting what he wants. So we'll see that. Also, too, Daniel Bryan saying that he won against this match. It hasn't been himself. I think Daniel Bryan should be the world champion. Should be Bryan and Moxley having a split in between them for them to prove who the best and being the world champion rather than being the group. They just don't know what to do with Daniel Bryan. They just pigeonholing him into stuff. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. Also, too, Lance Archer picking a fight with Ricky Starks. Ricky Starks kind of looked like The Rock trying to act like Rock-esque character and saying that he'll see him at his match on Rampage. So Ricky Starks take on Lance Archer in the World Title Tournament coming up. So we'll see that match as well coming up near soon. So Ricky Starks might have to back down the hatches if he wants to defeat Lance Archer in a match that Archer has set up and decided. So we'll see that match as well. All right, we get to the main event. Now we know we told you earlier, um Daniel Bryan taking on Sammy Guevara, the best 2 out of 3 falls match. We know Sammy Guevara got himself internally disqualified. Apparently disqualified. And Sammy Guevara had done so with that. But we see that Sammy Guevara got himself disqualified, but Guevara tried to do that, and Daniel Bryan continued to fight, and he fought. Um, but Daniel Bryan and Guevara was 1-1. But Daniel Bryan pulled up the upset, hitting the label lock to get the win over Sammy Guevara. Daniel Bryan may be motivated now to get the world title and add himself down the road. I would see if I could see MJF winning the title and Bryan and Moxley. Probably Bryan chasing to get the belt. So I could see that match coming that way. But AEW was so, but it wasn't great that week. It was like okay, but you know how that is. All right, we move forward to Wrestling Hot Topics. On Wrestling Hot Topics this week, we talk about speaking of AEW news, we know AEW next year will be up for renewal under their contracts that deal. We know that Warner Bros. Discovery and AEW has a mutual relationship, and who knows, both companies, both deals could come to fruition to get that raise that AEW is looking for. That not max deal, but forgot that what they call it. When you're trying to get more money, rights deal. Trying to get rights deal, and AEW could be getting a rights deal sooner rather than later. So hopefully for AEW get that rights deal coming up with Warner Bros. Discovery, which they did. But hey, speaking of that, we heard that reports and rumors that the Masked Singer. We're hearing reports that Chris Jericho is this dinosaur. So we'll see how that's going. I think Jericho leaked his own information. Stop doing it, Jericho. Speaking of that, Teddy Hart will be on Peacock. We don't know. I think it's a docu-series about his life, about crime with the dangerous breed, crimes, cons, and cats. Uh, all right. I'm gonna watch it to see what it's all about. I'm so fascinated with Peacock. With just watched the Barney docu-series, and which is a 2-parter, and it was kind of crazy and weird and stuff. I was like, is Peacock trying to be like Oxygen in a way? I think Oxygen Network might get that and pick that up for Peacock. You know how that be. Speaking of that, we know there's a 10-year anniversary at Survivor Series between these 3 men: Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, John Moxley, and Seth Rollins. The 3 men 10 years ago were virtually unknowns, and 10 years later, they are champions and world champions of their respective shows. I don't see why Roman carrying all those belts. Seth, to me, should be the WWE champion on how he's carrying himself and stuff, but Seth should be Raw, Roman should be SmackDown, and Dean John Slayer is AEW. That could have made sense, but they're gonna have to take that belt out of Roman with one of those 2 belts, because one of them, the WWE title, is meaningless to Roman, but hey, do what you do. But congratulations to the Shield. When the 10-year anniversary comes, we'll let you know come up this month. So look for that. As well, speaking of anniversaries, 25 years ago this week, you can tell right here, the infamous screw job that changed the landscape of wrestling. Shawn Michaels defeated Bret Hart in a screw job that many people consider the worst match in wrestling history and the worst downfall in wrestling history, when Bret Hart made his attention that he was going to WCW, And Vince McMahon at the time didn't believe Bret Hart and wanted to get the belt off of Bret Hart sooner rather than later. Vince McMahon had got punched on, kicked on. If you can watch Wrestling with Shadows, it'll tell you the whole story on what had happened. So the screw job is live infamy, and I saw a little bit of it, but I didn't know at the time what was going on. When you think about it now, it's kind of like Vince said that Bret screwed Bret, but actually it was Vince screwing Bret. And then you can understand from Vince's point of view, hey, you're not taking my title to another company. I understand that because what happened with Medusa, that's what kind of got Vince McMahon a little bit upset and stuff. But with Bret Hart, they could have just had, you could have found a way. And Bret Hart should have been a little bit more willing to say, hey, I want to lose the belt to somebody. I want to lose to Shawn, but I'll lose it to anybody else beforehand. Just no give the upset, but they could have added the Undertaker to the match or something, since the Undertaker was clearly involved in their rivalry almost at the tail end of their injury. So hey, it is what it is. It's still living infamy to this day, but the screw job, that was a screw job. Speaking of that, this right here, we heard Santos Escobar saying that he acknowledges Roman Reigns, but he's coming for Roman Reigns when the time is right. All right, Santos, you just got on SmackDown. You got to build your momentum, not just take it. So Santos will sit you down right there. Speaking of that, you tell Dakota Kai sitting on a camel. This is her time when she was at the Crown Jewel event. So however that would meant be and stuff. Plus two, we see how Jamie Hayter defeats Sky Blue. We also saw Trent Beretta got defeated by Jay Lethal, so that led to them doing what they did. We know that coming up, Jade Cargill will take on Nia Rose. Nia Rose thinks she's a TBS champion, but Jade Cargill is the official champion, so we'll see that match between these two women. As well as we know that this week, Rampage, Ricky Starks will go against Lance Archer, and Brian Cage will go against Dante Morton. So we saw those matches. All right, we're going to end the pro wrestling show, AEW Dynamite Ring Report, with Daniel Bryan standing victorious over his match over Sammy Guevara in the best of 2 out of 3 falls. We'll see you tomorrow for the SmackDown Ring Report. And thank you all. We forgot one more thing. We forgot one more thing before we leave. This right here, the 24/7 championship has been retired. No more. Triple H kept the 24/7 championship. It's gone. But speaking of a former 24/7 champion who won it nearly 50 times, R-Truth had to get surgery. R-Truth sending his tweet that he's been sending, and we wish R-Truth the best. So hopefully R-Truth got everything in speedy recovery. All right. We're going to end it with Daniel Bryan. Like I said, we're going to end the show with Daniel Bryan. But hell, we might end the show with MJF. MJF claiming that he wants to become AEW champion, and Daniel Bryan will leave with him. You gain momentum, but can he be going for the world title sooner rather than later? Thank you all for watching this edition of the Pro Wrestling Show. I'm giving you a host, Kendrick Dick, saying so long, and we'll see you next time for another edition of the Pro